Good afternoon, everyone. It's Kat Bhat from Digital Leopard, and today I've got with us Claire Wormsley from the Media House. Claire, could you tell us a little bit about the Media House?
Hi, firstly, thanks very much for having me. The Media House is a training and events consultancy for the events industry. So we work with all kinds of companies, associations, charities, business-to-business publishers and event companies who are putting on their own events. And we give them the skills, whether it be in marketing, sales, production, and most recently an awful lot on virtual events.
You're probably the best person to answer this question then. What impact has the COVID-19 had on the events industry?
Well, it's been pretty traumatic. I mean, there are estimates at the moment that 3 out of 4 event companies may not survive into next year, which is just
Oh, wow.
devastating. I mean, we're looking at a loss of up to 500,000 people in the industry, which is just heartbreaking. And it might not just be events companies, but we have a big ecosystem, whether it be catering companies who provide the food and drinks for events, whether it be the audiovisual companies, carpet layers at exhibitions. All those kinds of organizations and people have just had no business basically, and not many people can survive with zero income coming in.
I agree. It's been the same for
Mm.
us in video
Mm.
marketing. I've covered a lot of events last year, so that's been quite. It's been quite a hard year, I have to say.
It is, and I mean the venues as well have suffered enormously. I mean,
Yeah.
quite a lot of them have invested in building studios so that they can do their own
Yeah.
hybrid events, so people can film in them. But I spoke to one venue this week who said their revenue was 5% of 2019. 5%.
Wow.
I mean, that's
That's
desperate. Yeah.
well, I won't lie to you, it's not been rosy for us as well. So those figures kind of resonate with me. Maybe not quite as bad as 5, but yeah,
Mm.
it's not been great. What
Mm.
do you think will be the long-term impact?
Well, I think we've seen a couple of very positive things. We've seen event companies themselves pivot a lot of their
Mm.
conferences to virtual events. And that's actually worked really well. Virtual events have brought in a lot of international audience, people who might not have traveled to an event. That's positive. It's obviously a lot more sustainable and greener.
True.
There's a lot of data which you get through virtual events, which you don't really get through face-to-face events.
Yeah.
So there's some positives which have come out of virtual events. And I think, in terms of the future, we will see some aspect of virtual with most conferences.
So do you think overall the migration to virtual has been good for the events industry?
I think for some events it works. So
Okay.
anything which is content rich, anything which have at its heart giving out information for people to learn and development, that's good. Where you look at things like sales, where you look
Yeah.
at entertainment, where you look at business deals being done, I think that's a struggle. So exhibitions, it's pretty hard to replicate exhibitions online.
Yeah.
We do quite a lot of awards. I have another business called the Global Conference Network, which
Yeah.
runs larger scale events for the events industry. So we have quite a number of different awards, and we've done those virtually, and they've been good. But I struggle with virtual awards, virtual fundraising galas, because that's all about the networking, the connection,
Mm.
being with people, the celebration, the fun of it. And that's quite hard to translate virtually.
And I think people's attention span is a bit lower online, isn't it? It just seems a little bit more of hard work to do it via video.
Oh, it is. I mean, we're all so exhausted by it, aren't we? I mean, there is something really tough about being online all day.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I mean, I can't wait to get back to live events.
I've been wondering what it is. I think I figured it out. I think it's the fact that we actually see ourselves on the screen.
Oh,
That's
it's
what makes
horrible,
it
isn't it?
tough.
I'm not really looking at myself at the moment. I'm looking at you. Yeah, no, it's hideous. I don't know. Do I really look as old and wrinkly as I do on the screen? Gosh, I don't know. Yeah.
You mentioned hybrid. Do you think this is the future of the events? Part virtual, part physical?
I certainly think for conferences,
Yeah.
and even maybe for other events like awards and parts of exhibitions, because exhibitions now have a lot of content embedded in them. And hybrid does give people the opportunity to make it much more bigger, more international, have more people involved, and maybe it's a bit more sort of egalitarian. It's much lower cost. You know, if you're thinking about flying from the States to the UK to attend an exhibition or a conference, that's expensive. Not everybody's going to be able to achieve that. By having a
True.
hybrid event, maybe it will open up to more people.
That's true. And I think you're right, it's more sustainable. But I think the big events is where we get access to those people that we need to get access to. And, those that we want to speak to might be very busy. So they might not want to make it in person. And that's kind of will make things quite difficult for the whole industry.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there are things like the World Travel Market, which we have in London each
Yeah.
year, which has 4,000 exhibitors, over £3 billion worth of traders done at it. I
Mm.
cannot imagine that being replicated in any way online. I can't imagine how you can launch a product. You know, how do you
Yeah.
launch a car virtually? I mean, you can, but people want to touch and feel it, don't they? And there's some events like the boat show or the
Yeah.
caravan show where actually there's a significant amount of sales are only done through those exhibitions because people actually have to look at them and feel them and see them.
Yeah. Yeah, especially the home show,
Mm.
you want to sit on the furniture, you want to see what it's like, you want to touch it. It's not just looking at it, which you can do on video. There is a bit more to
Yeah.
it.
But learning and development works well. You've done a
Yeah.
lot of training. I mean, you have to, with all things virtual, I think you can't just replicate a live event. You have to package it because, as you say, people's attention span isn't as long. We can do a 1 day's training course. People can break. They can do exercises. It's interactive. People cannot do a 1 day training course online. Well, I think we don't do that. We break them up into sort of 1.5 hour modules to keep people's attention. So you have to think about translating what you do and thinking about virtual and hybrid as different channels. It's not
Yeah.
just doing the same thing.
Do you think people will want to go back to the physical events, or the attendees, they might prefer the hybrid or digital events?
I think an awful lot of people want to go back to live events. In some countries, events have happened. In China, there was the Informer's Beauty Expo, and actually it's a domestic event, it's in the domestic market, and they had a 20% increase on visitors
Wow.
because I think people do like do like going to events. We are social creatures.
Yeah.
But obviously, we have to give people the confidence that it's safe and secure to attend events, and that's going to be a mixture of vaccine rollout, potentially rapid testing at events. We've seen that in Austria and Singapore. Events take place where there's rapid testing before delegates can attend.
Yeah.
And then actually at the event as well, we've got pretty clear COVID secure guidelines from the government, and venues are being set up and are being approved. And, that should give people the confidence to return.
So the guidelines are there, and yes, you are right, it will give people confidence if the industry follows them. But what are the challenges? Because it can be easy to adjust to all those new guidelines. It must be quite expensive as well.
I think it is really expensive for venues. They're
Yeah.
having to put in, special marking, obviously all the hygiene dispensers. Technology can come into play as well. There's sort of full body screening some people are doing. There's some cool bands which I've seen which vibrate if you go nearer than 2 meters to somebody. But yes, there's obviously a cost involved, and the
Yeah.
less people you can have because of social distancing, the
True.
less commercially successful an event can be. That's from a venue point of view, from the whole catering side, but also from the event organizer. If you can sell
Yeah.
less tickets, that's less revenue. So the commercial sort of reason for doing the event is lessened.
And it's not like they can charge more for tickets, especially if people join online. They usually don't want to pay as much, which makes things quite difficult.
No, I think there's a big question to be had for event organisers as to how they're going to charge the
Yeah.
differential between attending a live event and attending something virtually. I've seen quite some interesting community models or membership models, which a lot of event companies want to get to. So it's more like a subscriber base. So you can attend 5 virtual events free if you attend 1 live event, or the cost of virtual is 20% the price of a live event. I think there's going to be a lot of sort of suck it and see a little bit what works and what doesn't work.
Fair enough.
You can't charge the same, clearly.
The hard bit is that it's not necessarily much cheaper to set up the event virtually because you still have a lot of the costs. Yes, you can use some simple technology, but if you want to have speakers, you still have to set things up, you still have to make it work, you still have to market it in the same way. So although those costs are there.
Absolutely. And I think the thing about the hybrid event is you're going to have the costs for the live event, and then you're also going to have costs for the doing it virtually.
Yeah.
And
sorry, go on.
I was going to say, you need almost different kinds of people to do them. Somebody who's very good at doing the live event, running it and the operations, might not be so comfortable running the virtual event with all the technology which goes alongside it. So you might need different kinds of people. And again, that has a cost implication.
That's actually the question I wanted to ask in terms of the skill set necessary. That, as you said, people who have been doing live events might have a different skill set. Do you think there will be new jobs created because of that, or do you think people will just have to upskill quickly?
Well, I mean, I think there is upskilling going on. We've been, as I say, we've been doing some training courses on virtual events. We've trained over 1,000 people, which is, I think, sort of shows the kind of appetite for people to learn, because really the level of skills within the industry was pretty low. I think most people have done a webinar, not much, not a full-scale virtual event. So there's been a huge learning curve, which is, I think, been exciting and challenging for a lot of people to learn new things. For others, it's been really difficult. They might be really good at the organisation side, but technology is not their forte. So
and I think when you go into events, you are great with people. You are not necessarily great with technology. It's a completely different personality trait.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But we are seeing some new job titles, sort of virtual technicians, virtual event technicians, virtual event operators, virtual event producers. And as you say, the skills are different.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel about the government support through all this? Do you think they've done enough to help the events industry?
No, I don't. We're an £84 billion industry, but there is very little understanding of what we do. We're quite disparate. We range from festivals to exhibitions to award ceremonies to charity fundraisers. And the government just don't really get events, and we work quite hard to get representation, but unlike hospitality or unlike culture, we've had no direct support, even though from the very onset of lockdown in March 23, we were unable or legally allowed to trade. Yeah. Literally, we are now allowed to trade for the last 5 or 6 days. Nobody is, because it actually takes a long time to organise an event, and obviously one needs the confidence you spoke about. Moving forward as well, there's a lot of people asking the government to actually provide an insurance scheme for the events industry. At the moment, there's no way you can get any insurance to put on an event because of COVID. And so it might be that you're thinking 3 months down the line, maybe I will put on an event, and we're in tier 2, so we can have up to 2,000 people. Yeah. But what happens then if you go to tier 3? You can't do it. So we need some security. So that's one of the things we've been asking the government for. It would have been great to get some more direct support, because we have been in this particular situation, unlike very few other industries where we have legally just not been allowed to operate.
I think the changing guidelines have been sort of the most difficult, because, as you said, you can't even know whether it's okay to set something up for a future date. And I do understand why they do it, but they should provide more support around it.
But we are a very important industry. We're a big sector of the economy. And I think Brexit looming over us, we're in danger of losing our preeminence in the world as a sector where the UK is absolutely brilliant at, whether it be as an agency or being holding these really large-scale events. We want to stay. We want to stay at the forefront of the events industry, and we're in danger of letting that position slip.
Of course. Well, it's all guesswork at the moment, but what do you think? When will the events finally reopen? When will we be able to function as normal?
Gosh, I mean that's a tricky question. I think it depends the kind of events you're doing. If you're looking at if your events are for the domestic market, the UK market, they're obviously going to come back sooner than if you have a big international audience and
True.
expect people to be flying in. Most companies I talk to are looking at the second half of 21 with um, really getting back to normal in 22. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
22 is a long time. Well, what are you most looking forward to when things get back to normal?
I want to go back to football. I love football. I love live sport. I want to go to the theatre. I want to see my friends. I want to have some big parties, and I want to see my colleagues and
Oh,
clients and people I've worked with. And I want to go to a business event. I love that feeling at the start of the conference where you have a room full of people and
yeah.
there's that buzz and excitement. And that's what I'm looking forward to.
Thank you so much, Claire. Is there anything that you would like to add?
No, just thank you very much for having me. And I think you're doing a great thing. And obviously it's really interesting. And I've enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please press the like button below. If you have any questions, please pop them in the comment section. And whatever you do, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Make sure that you also press that bell button so that you get notified of our future videos.